All right. Hello, sellers. My name is Vaibhav, and I'm from Customer Success Team. Uh, uh, first of all, welcome to another session of Payoneer Pathshaala. Through Payoneer Pathshaala, we try to bring in newer discussions for your e-commerce business. As per our recent conversation with sellers, EU-VAT changes have been one of the highly debated topics for our sellers with presence in EU and UK markets. These changes are coming just in back of recently concluded Brexit policy changes for UK. Before I hand over the session to our key speaker for today's session, we have a very interesting announcement lined up lined up from Payoneer. So before we start, we all know about Payoneer, that we are a global company. We empower global growth with digital business of all sizes. Pay, get paid, and manage your business. We have our headquarters in US with 1,800 plus employees worldwide. We support 100 plus currencies and 2,000 plus marketplaces and platforms. We have a clientele list of 400 million plus customers and receivers. Now that this is something which we are all aware of, but the interesting announcement that I would want to make, and I'm thrilled to announce this, that last quarter was very good for Payoneer. We relaunch our brand. Then the other announcement is that we have a tie-up with eBay, and eBay payments will now get processed through Payoneer. Third, we have created a Payoneer Partner on Demand directory, wherein you'll get all type of service support, right from logistics, shipping, warehousing, service providers, account management service. It is a curated directory that we have created only for e-commerce sellers. And above all, we have been listed. We have gone public in the month of June. Now we are a listed company, listed on NASDAQ. Now, moving on to today's session, I'm pleased to have Mr. Sumed, who's Director of Lucria Consult, as a speaker for today's session. Sumed has over 11 years of work experience in taxation and compliance consulting. In his present role with Lucria Consult, he has been helping e-commerce seller with taxation and compliance issues. Before I hand over the session to Sumed, would request sellers to ask questions in the Q&A section, and we would discuss them at the end of the session. Over to you, Sumed.
Thanks, Vaibhav. Thanks everyone for joining the session. We're going to have a very quick session explaining how European VAT works, and we're trying to cover very recent changes that we have seen after Brexit and from the 1st of July in case of mainland Europe as well. Vikram, is it okay if I can share my screen and start my presentation?
Yes, please.
Right, great. So in a very brief nutshell, this is just a screenshot kind of presentation, and this particular slide is just for you to understand the tax rates in Europe and rest of the other countries where most of Amazon marketplaces exist. You would notice that the average tax rate is approximately 20%. So it ranges from 5%, goes up to 23%. Happy for anyone to take a screenshot, or happy for you to reach out to Payoneer and to us after this presentation in case you need any more details on any of these other countries. So in summary, we are going to discuss how is VAT currently being calculated for MFN sellers, Merchant Fulfillment Network, in UK and mainland Europe. Second point, how is VAT being calculated for FBA in case of UK and mainland Europe. We will also cover IOSS, VOSS, what are the process, what are the documents required, timelines, etc. And we're also going to very briefly talk about how to plan your cash flows, especially with the VAT being withheld by Amazon and other marketplaces in Europe. Let's dive right into it. we'll start with the merchant fulfillment business model on Amazon. I'm going to talk about how the existing VAT regime works, and then we're also going to discuss the new regime which has been introduced from 1st of July. So as per the current regime, sellers ship their goods from India, pay import VAT duty at UK and European customs at the border, and then the goods get delivered to the buyer directly. This was the model that everyone was following. After Brexit and now after 1st of July, regulations in UK and mainland Europe have changed. And we have now been told that there is a new regulation called IOSS. And what this does is basically it allows the marketplace to have control on the collection of taxes, collection of customs duties also in some cases. And all of this is being done through the IOSS or through the VOSS model. So the new model is the seller ships goods from India, pays import VAT duty at the UK and European customs in case the value of the product is more than 150 euros. In case it's less, then there is something called IOSS which comes into play. Goods then get delivered to the fulfillment center. Amazon withholds approximately 20% VAT depending on the country. In case of Germany, it's 19. In case of UK, it's 20%. At the end of the month or end of the quarter, the seller is liable to file the VAT returns and claim any overpayments and or underpayments of taxes. So this is the main things that have changed over here is that at the time of custom clearance, if your consignment value is less than 150 euros, you can get away without paying any duties. Second thing that has changed here is at the end of the month, your marketplace will withhold any kind of taxes and pay them directly to the government. Now we're going to talk about the other business model, which is fulfillment by Amazon. So in the current regime, prior to Brexit and prior to 1st of July, in case of mainland Europe, sellers would ship their goods from India, pay import VAT duties at the customs. The goods would then get delivered to the fulfillment center. And then at the end of the month, the seller would file for VAT returns and settle any underpayments, overpayments. After Brexit and now after 1st of July, in case of mainland Europe, sellers ship their goods from India. They must include an IOSS number in some cases, pay import VAT duties in case they don't have any IOSS number. Goods then get delivered to the buyer. Amazon withholds the appropriate VAT percentage. And at the end of the month, the seller will now file the VAT returns, claim for any overpayments or settle any underpayments. So the changes over here that we see are again, the VOSS, IOSS comes into picture. Tax withholding has also changed. So these are the two main changes. We have seen both in case of FBA as well as MFN. Now we're going to talk about these two major changes. What is IOSS? What is VOSS? How to deal with it? Who all should be taking care of this compliance? Can it be ignored by a certain category of Amazon sellers? So first, we talk about IOSS, import one-stop shop. Seller basically ships the good from India, pays import VAT duty at UK and European customs. This was the model which was being followed. With the IOSS coming into the picture, there is a special regime which has now been introduced, especially for sellers valuing their goods at less than 150 euros per consignment. If you opt for the IOSS regime, your transaction will be exempt from import VAT and duties, and they have to be settled through a separate channel. The other model is to send your consignment as duties, taxes unpaid, in which case the buyer will have to take care of duties and taxes. Some businesses would not want that to happen to allow your consumer to have a smoother experience of buying goods from you. So if that sounds like the business that you want to run, then getting an IOSS and VOS is something you would have to think about. IOSS number will be provided by the online marketplaces in most cases. Amazon, eBay, Cdiscount, all of them will be sharing their IOSS number at the time when they send you the email to inform you that this is your order, kindly dispatch your order. IOSS is, you can consider this as a boon for you. It's going to reduce the stress that you used to have in custom clearance. It's also going to reduce the friction that you used to have at the customs. You can probably get away without paying duties because that's going to be taken care by the person who holds the IOSS number. In this case, it's going to be the marketplace. Now we come to the second model within the IOSS system. So EU VAT and EORI certificate would be required to process your iOSS application. Processing time is approximately 1 business day, does not take longer than that. Approximately 2 to 3 weeks to get your iOSS number. This would only be applicable if you're selling through your own website and not through a marketplace. So if you operate a marketplace, just use Amazon's or eBay's iOSS number. Sorry, now we come to the second part of the new regime. Now this is called the VOSS. This is VAT one-stop shop. It applies to sellers who value their consignments at greater than 150 euros. If the seller opts for the VOSS regime, transaction is not required to maintain multiple VAT numbers and file multiple VAT returns in European Union. Previous to this regime, Amazon was, or rather your marketplace would ask you to have 5, 6, 7, in some cases up to 11 VAT numbers in European Union. If you opt for the VAT, if you opt for the VOSS, you can surrender all of those VAT numbers, just maintain one base country to have your VAT number and maintain one OSS number. Those are the only 2 registrations you would need for the entire 27 EU bloc countries. Again, this is a huge benefit. You don't have to bear the cost of filing VAT returns in 10, 11 countries. You can just, the basic structure would be to just have one VAT number and one OSS number. What are the processes? What are the documents required? What are the timelines? You would need to furnish your EU VAT certificate, your EORI certificates. It will take 1 business day to process and approximately 2 to 3 weeks to receive your OSS number. You would also have to provide a preference of what country to be kept as the base country. This country will be your assigned fulfillment center as well. You will not be allowed to store your goods outside of this country. So if you choose Germany, all your consignments from India will go to Germany.
So Sumit, in this, sorry, I have one question, Sumit. So can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
So in this case, in VOSS, let's take an example that seller is selling through MFN as well as an FBA. So I think both the IOSS and the VOSS would play a role, right?
Yeah, so if a seller is doing both MFN and FBA, they can benefit from both the new regimes that have come into picture. There are other business models also, which we'll try and cover later on in the presentation. But since you've asked, so there is MFN, there is FBA, there is EFN, and then there is Pan-European program. So if you're running the EFN model, EFN basically allows you to store your goods in one country and sell in multiple countries across European Union. IOSS will not impact if you are a EFN business. But OSS will definitely benefit you because you don't need to maintain more than one VAT number. In case you're dealing in Pan-European program, neither of these 2 will apply to you. You will have to maintain 6, 7, 8, 9 VAT numbers in European Union to have multiple fulfillment centers.
Got it. And the sellers were currently selling since this changes is from July onwards. So seller have the option to opt in for one VAT country, one VAT in specific as a base country, and they can surrender the rest of the VAT.
Yeah, absolutely. They will have to opt for one country to be assigned as the base country. And then they can tell us that we need a VOSS number. This base country will be the only country where they will be able to ship their consignment and store goods in the Amazon warehouse. So for example, if you're a seller, Webhub, and you have VAT numbers in France and Germany, and you get equal business from both these countries, you will have to choose one of the 2 countries. If you want to surrender, if you want to opt for the OSS system, you will have to surrender one of these 2 VAT numbers. Ideally, it will have to be the country with a smaller turnover for your business, because you would want to have fulfillment centers in the country which is a major chunk of your business.
Absolutely. Sure. Thanks, Sumit. Please go ahead.
So these were the 2 major changes in the taxation structure in the custom clearance process. The third major change, which has recently come into force in case of UK from 1st of January and in case of mainland Europe from 1st of July. Marketplaces have now been held liable by the local government, by the local tax offices for VAT, which means the marketplace is going to withhold your tax and they will pay to the various tax offices. How do they do it? Every 14 days when Amazon issues your payout, Amazon is going to deduct the local VAT rate, 19, 18, 20, 23%, whatever the rate is, and they will pay to the government. How do you account for it in your books? Unfortunately, you will not be able to account for this VAT. Amazon, eBay, or the other marketplaces are not going to share what date they paid this tax to the government or what was the payment reference, etc. So you will not have any visibility over this. But what you do know is X amount of sales were liable for VAT deduction at source, and the remaining Y amount of sales did not have any VAT being withheld. So it's your accountant's job, it's your tax advisor's job to reconcile this total sales, find out what element of sales, what part of sales have already had the VAT deducted and what part has not had this VAT deducted. So just quickly going through the brief points that we mentioned. Non-UK, yes, please.
Sumit, so point number one, non-UK and EU companies to suffer VAT deduction at source by Amazon. What exactly does it mean?
So it means that if you're a UK company, then Amazon in UK will not deduct VAT for you. So if you're a European company, similarly, Amazon is not going to touch your money. It's going to pay you 100% of the money. Only if you're a non-domicile seller in that country, will you have tax deducted. So that's what it basically means.
Okay.
And so Amazon has devised, or rather it has been instructed to deduct tax on a particular category of transaction. For example, only B2C. It will not touch the B2B transactions, or it will not touch any transaction which is more than 150 euros or 135 GBP. So this would be approximately somewhere in the range of 90-95% of any business's turnover on a monthly, quarterly basis. So it is safe to assume that majority of your VAT would already be paid to the tax office. You would have to worry about the transactions which have not had any tax deducted. And again, coming back to the same point, it's your advisor's role to find out which transactions have had no tax deducted, find out the underpaid amount, pay them to the various tax offices. VAT return submission is the only solution to recover VAT overpayment or import VAT. In case you're paying any duties, any VAT at the time of importing your goods, it would make a lot of sense for you to submit your tax returns on time so that you can receive the credit back into your bank account. VAT refunds can't be accepted directly by Indian bank, must have a GBP European bank account. So just like any other government, just like Indian government, you can't expect them to pay you your GST refund in a US bank account. Similarly, the UK or the European tax office will not pay you the refund in an Indian bank account. They will need you to have or maintain a local bank account. Refunds can take anywhere between 1 to 4 weeks under normal circumstances. However, in some rare circumstances, refunds can be delayed up to a few months also.
So Sumit, getting a refund from tax authority, does the process, is there a change in the process or is it remains the same? Considering
the process,
yeah, please go.
Yeah, the process has changed, especially because of Brexit and all the sort of the benefits that the government was offering. They were spending a lot of money. The treasury was spending huge amounts of money to stimulate the economy. So they paid out huge amounts of money to local businesses. Most of the Amazon sellers would not have experienced this because they're not local to the European local economy. But whichever company was based out of Europe, they received a lot of stimulus package. So it is safe to assume that the local tax offices have somewhat exhausted their cash reserves to a certain extent in supporting local domestic businesses, to the extent that now they don't have enough cash to pay out refunds on time. This is unofficially what's being discussed in our networks. Nowhere on the government website will you see this as the reason of delay in VAT refunds, but this is what I think is a logical reasoning behind the delays. The process has changed. Previously, process used to be about 2 to 3 days. Now it's all, although the process methodology has also gone from online to offline, and also the timelines have also changed drastically.
Got it.
Very briefly, IOSS and OSS in a tabular format. In case any of you would like to take a screenshot, this is the opportunity. It would not make sense for me to discuss this table. The table basically talks about when do you need a tax intermediary or a tax representative to be appointed. In summary, you would need an intermediary if you're not a domestic company. If you're not based in Europe or UK, you would need to appoint a local intermediary, without which IOSS or OSS cannot be applied. So that was it from my side. We wanted to cover IOSS, OSS, tax being withheld, and we wanted to answer any pain points that our viewers, our clients would have. I'm open to questions. Meanwhile, just talking you through what Lucria does. We're a boutique tax consulting firm based out of London and also have operations here in India. We are certified chartered accountants from UK. We are authorized government agent from UK, from Germany and other European countries. We have network across multiple countries, now reaching almost 41 countries. We can cater to all countries where Amazon currently exists. And we have been partners with Payoneer from the last 4 years. We would love to hear any questions that our viewers have.
All right. So Sumit, we have a couple of questions for you. So question one is, can I sell? So one of our sellers are asking that, can I sell in all EU countries with only German VAT registration? And I assume that the answer is yes, but still, if you want to have some detail on this one.
Absolutely, Vaibhav, you're right. You don't need more than one VAT number to operate in 27 EU bloc country. Just one VAT number, ship your goods to that particular country, use the EFN model, which is going to be your default model. You would not have to put in any special effort to activate your account on the other remaining European countries. It's a default method. So reach out to your contact point within Amazon or within Payoneer and take their help to get started.
Fair enough. So another question to you, Sumit, IOSS and FBA movement, is there a correlation? What is the treatment of FBA shipment in the current EU regime?
Right, so IOSS affects MFN primarily, and OSS or VOSS affects FBA. So if you currently are doing MFN, Amazon or eBay or Cdiscount or whatever marketplace you use, they will give you their own IOSS number to pay duties, taxes, and get custom cleared. And if you're doing FBA, you would have to have your own VOSS number. VOSS is only required if you cross a certain threshold. That threshold is 10,000 euros per country per year in mainland Europe. If your sales in France exceed 10,000 euros, you would have to have an OSS number, which would exempt you from the requirement of having a VAT number in France. Similarly for other countries. So the OSS number in summary is like a compounded VAT number for 27 countries. You can either have 27 VAT numbers and sell in 27 countries, or you can have one OSS number and sell in 27 countries.
All right. So on this, Sumit, I have one more question to you. This is basically from my understanding. For example, so there used to be some timeline, some document required to get a VAT in that particular country. For OSS, the process, is there some change in the process or in the documentation, and what is the timeline?
Well, the process is very basic, very simple. You need to have at least one VAT number in mainland Europe to apply for a IOSS or OSS or VOSS number. Process would take approximately 2 to 3 weeks to get approved. Documents required are just your VAT details and your EORI details. Nothing else required.
Got it. So another question to you, Sumit, for Shopify sales, they need the IOSS, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So Shopify, because Shopify is not really a marketplace, you create your own website using Shopify as a tool. And Shopify does not fall under the regulation of online OMP. It's called online marketplace regulation. Only online marketplaces are regulated by the tax authorities. Shopify, not being a online marketplace, makes you an independent seller, which makes you liable to have your own IOSS, VOSS number, etc.
Got it. So we have another question. Seller says we are selling through our own website and currently not having EU VAT, have UK VAT though. They need some suggestion that which country should they opt in for hassle-free registration and speedy IOSS.
Right. So if you don't have a VAT number, I would recommend you to apply VAT in a country which has the most potential for your product category. But just speaking from an economic point of view, if 100 rupees is the total economic value of European mainland, I think, or rather, let's say 100 rupees is the economic value of entire Europe. I would say about 35 rupees comes from UK. Another 30 rupees comes from Germany. That brings us at 65. The remaining 35 rupees would come from Netherlands, Italy, Spain, France, Poland, Czech, Austria, Belgium, etc. So UK, Germany, in my view, are the most progressive economies, closely followed by France, I would say. But then again, this would vary from product to product. Every product would have a different preference in a different country.
And does the document also changes if you're opting in for other countries? Like, will there be a difference if I'll opt in for France versus Germany, or maybe Poland versus Germany?
Very slightly. So any government process would involve your basic KYC, your proof of address, your proof of identity of the business stakeholders, some sort of evidence to show that your business is running. So maybe some invoices or some rent agreement, and maybe some evidence to show that you have a shop, physical shop, or an Amazon shop. These are the three category of documents any country would ask you for VAT or OSS or IOSS registration.
Got it. Thanks, Umid. Another question to you. We have a lot of questions considering it is compliance. So you mentioned that the seller says that you have mentioned that Amazon does not share the VAT receipt or amount that has been paid to the government. Now that I may have incurred the import VAT, which I need to apply for refund at the end of the quarter. Will I be able to do that?
You will be able to do that. Amazon will not tell you how much VAT they are paying to the government, but what will Amazon tell you is that they are deducting X amount of GBP or euros from your fortnightly payout. So at the end of the quarter, you can add the 6 payouts together. Sorry, the 6 payouts, and you can find out how much VAT was deducted by Amazon. Compare it with your VAT return prepared by your tax advisor. Find out the difference. And tell your tax advisor basically that I've already paid X amount at source. Total VAT liability should have been X plus Y. Hence, you should only make me pay Y amount of VAT. I hope I didn't make it too complicated, but it's just basically reconciliation that needs to be done.
Got it. Likewise, you mentioned that Amazon sales on B2B platform will have a different consideration versus B2C, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Both of them will be treated slightly differently.
So Sumit, just an Uber level question. If a seller is selling in all the major European region and they are selling directly to customers as well as in B2B, considering now there is a change and the seller will definitely opt in because B2B is still a nascent. That's the hypothesis. So how does it really work? I mean, is there a way you suggest to keep the things in, suggestion in the reconciliation? Because obviously the B2B sales are different and the volume will be different and it would be treated differently.
I'm sorry if I missed your question. Are you trying to say that if a seller is selling in multiple countries, how will he account for VAT? No.
So how will he account for VAT to an extent, right? So I'm just putting it again, just to better understanding. A seller is selling in all, for example, 4 different countries in Europe, and they're selling in B2B as well as B2C through Amazon. Now B2C has a different regime and B2B will have a existing process. How would you suggest that a seller should maintain a reconciliation, and how important is to do the compliance and pay the VAT correctly and get the refunds correctly? How do you suggest sellers to go about it?
So it's going to be tedious job to do the reconciliation. But if the seller is doing the tax returns in-house, they would have to compare the VAT that Amazon has paid on B2C. B2B will not have any tax being withheld. You will have to pay the VAT yourself, and then compare it with the total VAT liability that you should have paid on your sales. Do the plus minus. B2C VAT, B2B VAT, what you should have paid, this all should match. So B2C plus B2B should be equal to the total VAT liability. And this in turn should be equal to VAT deducted by Amazon plus the VAT that you are now paying directly to the government. So it's a bit of a reconciliation, although it's very logical, very simple. It can be done by sellers. But my recommendation would be to involve an expert to avoid any confusions and mistakes.
Got it. Got it. Another question for you, Sumit. So the seller is saying that the actual custom declaration is not so much a problem. The entry process is working very smoothly. The big surprise will come end of the month when IOSS owners need to declare the sales VAT. This can also affect carriers that are engaged with invalid IOSS number or misusing iOS number. They need, basically it is more like your views on this one, and if there is anything that you would want to highlight and seller should consider while sending these shipments.
I am not aware of IOSS being misused or IOSS being used in illegally. So I can't really comment on that. In my opinion, IOSS can only be used in one way, which is your marketplace gives you the IOSS number, or you register your own IOSS and you use it to get your goods custom cleared. If you're using someone else's IOSS number, you're basically paying tax to someone else on someone else's name. It is basically like paying TDS on not on your PAN number, but on someone else's PAN number. Whoever PAN numbers is being used, that person will benefit at the end of the year. So I don't know why someone would want to do that. It would not make a lot of sense. The custom clearance process is pretty straightforward these days. We have not come across any complaints or any feedback saying that there is a delay in the custom clearance process. IOSS has been working pretty smoothly. Likewise, the OSS or the VOSS system has also been working very smoothly.
Got it. Another question to you: does seller selling less than 135 GBP necessarily need to have a GB VAT number?
Well, you don't necessarily have to have GBP VAT number, but you will bear 20% tax reduction by Amazon and also at the time of customs. What this means is you're paying tax twice, potentially 30-40% VAT, while the tax rate is only 20%. My recommendation: get a VAT number, file your VAT returns, claim the excess VAT that you're paying. All the VAT that you're paying at the customs can effectively be taken back. You would be able to receive the refund. Amazon is by default going to deduct 20% VAT, even if it's a merchant sales, even if it's a less than £135 sale. So the VAT that you pay at customs is you're wasting that input credit.
Got it. So a seller says that if I'm doing FBA, can I mention Amazon's IOSS and have the shipment cleared if the value of the good is less than €150? Can I still avoid the import VAT?
Not a very ethical question to ask a tax advisor. I would like to reserve my comments on that. If the question was maybe worded slightly better, I could have answered this, but I don't think you should do it. It's not right.
Got it. So another question is, so a seller is selling on eBay and all orders are processed by them. Is it mandatory for buyers to pay 20% duty for import to UK buyers, basically?
No, it's not mandatory. What you can do is, it would happen in the case when you send the consignment as duties, taxes unpaid. In that case, you don't need to have an IOSS number, but the customs will call the buyer to the customs, ask them to pay. If they pay, the goods will get cleared. If they refuse, the goods will get, they'll get destroyed or etc. So either of the two parties must have an IOSS number, either the shipper or the receiver. Whoever has the IOSS number will also be liable to account for the duties, taxes. If Amazon gives you the IOSS or eBay gives you the IOSS, the duties taxes will be collected and paid by your marketplace. You would not have any liability in that case.
Fair enough. Another question, Sumit. I'm an FBA seller on Amazon Germany. Can I import goods in Germany or on my own EORI? I'm not established in EU. I am based in India.
Raman, no, that would not be possible. I'm sure you would have experienced it already in Germany. You would need a local representative to, represent your case and get the goods custom cleared. So you would have to have a German or a European company being involved in this. However, I'm not undermining the fact that EORI number is of no use. Your EORI number plays a very important role. If you're getting goods cleared under the direct method, you will make use of your EORI to receive the input credit. If you're getting your goods cleared or indirect method in Germany, the tax credit will not come on your EORI. It will sort of basically, it would disappear. It would go to someone else.
Fair enough. So another question, I think it is covered, but still our customer wants to know from you, Sumit, what is the process to get a UK VAT number / OSS number?
Right. So very straightforward process, 3 kinds of documents required. You have to furnish your proof of identity, proof of address. Second category is proof of selling. So it can be Amazon or eBay. You have to give certain documents from Amazon or certain screenshots. And the third piece of evidence is you have to show that your business is where your business is located and what kind of purchase or sales it has been doing. So some kind of purchase invoice, some kind of rent deed to show your physical presence in India. These are the 3 category of documents we need for UK VAT. For OSS number, we just need your VAT number, your EORI number. That's it.
Got it. I think we were having a follow-up question on that, and somebody was asking like if there is a self-publish or self-declaration required for OSS number from UK or something.
Hakeem, I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to self-declaration. Anyone can apply for an OSS number. You don't need to be a UK based entity to do that. I'm not sure if I answered your question. Maybe if you can rephrase it later on, Hakeem, I'd be able to answer it.
Okay. We have another question from Prashant Thakur. Does seller selling less than 135 GP in Australia? I think this is already covered there.
Right. So Prashant, you don't necessarily need VAT number, but you're going to waste your VAT to a certain extent if you don't file your VAT returns. In order to file VAT returns, you need a VAT number. So back to square one, let's say that you would benefit from having a VAT number.
Got it. So another question, how about if a seller is selling only through B2B via Amazon, but some orders are above 150 euros, but the seller does not have any IOSS or VOSS?
If you don't have any IOSS or VOSS, I don't think you're going to be able to continue for long. At some point, the marketplace is going to crack down on you. So it's better to be compliant. Although the deadline was 1st of July, but for whatever reasons, Amazon might not have been able to enforce it immediately. My recommendation is to avoid any kind of disruption in your business. Get yourself IOSS, VOSS, whatever is required, and keep your business compliant.
Got it. Another question, more of clarification required. Is FBA treated as B2B or B2C? If it is B2B, then IOSS is not applicable.
So FBA being treated as B2B or B2C would depend on your buyer. Is it a business buyer? Is it an end consumer? If you are selling it to, for example, Walmart, which is a B2B, it is a business, it has tax registration, so it becomes a B2B transaction. But if you're selling to me, I'm just a one-man person, I'm a private individual, I'm consuming or buying goods from my own personal use, it's a B2C transaction, and I can do both the transactions through FBA. So it would depend on the consumer if it's a B2B or B2C. And you also wanted to know, iOS is not applicable. Well, if it's an FBA, I'm assuming that your transaction is greater than £150. If it's greater than 150, iOSs will not come into play, rather VOSS will come into play. So I'm more than happy to discuss this question in detail because there's a lot of variables in this particular question, Prashant. Feel free to reach out to us later on.
So we have another question from Vishal. If we use iOSs that I received from the eBay.in, this case buyer have to pay any duty?
Buyer would not have to pay because the iOSS number is going to take care of the duties, taxes. However, if you don't furnish an iOSS number, in that case, the buyer would have to take care of custom clearance, pay the duties, taxes, whatever, and that becomes a hassle.
Got it. So we have another question from Ashley. He's saying, like, is there a way to verify the value of goods being imported in EU and UK? That is, does the custom department verify the value of the good?
Yes, actually, the custom departments very frequently verify the value of goods. Your shipping bill, your packing list, or whatever document you attach to your consignment will very clearly tell where the consignment is headed to. Is it going to an FBA warehouse? Is it going to a private individual? Was it an order placed on Shopify or Cdiscount or eBay or Amazon? And we live in the age of internet. Don't assume that the people in the customs don't know what internet or what Amazon is.
Okay. So another question, Sumit. So seller is asking, can we sell complete Europe with OSS number? Or what is the main use of OSS number rather?
Right. No, very good question. Actually, I think the very important question also, this allows me to summarize everything that I've just said during the presentation. Consider OSS like a compounded VAT number valid in 27 countries. However, it can only be acquired if you have an existing VAT number in at least one of the European countries. It can be any country, France, Italy, Spain, etc. For the remaining 26 countries, you would have to have only one OSS number. So at the end of the month or end of the quarter or end of the year, you are submitting one VAT return for your base country and you're submitting one OSS return for the remaining 26 countries. OSS number is the requirement will only get triggered if your sale from your base country to any other country crosses 10,000 euros within a 12-month period. So 10,000 euros is your threshold. If you have a VAT number in any of the 27 European countries, once it gets triggered, you have to make a choice. Either start registering VAT numbers in each individual 26 countries, or second option, just register one single OSS number.
I think that answers, and thanks for summarizing, Sumit. One question, so a seller want to understand the difference between a tax and the customs.
Tax and the customs. Okay, so customs, or let's not call it customs, let's call it duties. So duties would always be a cost to company. Duties is like a source of revenue, just like taxation for the government, but it cannot be, it's not a circular kind of logic which applies to GST or VAT, where you have an input and you have an output, you can set them off. Duty is always one-sided. It's always going to be a cost to company. You have to absorb it. Taxes, on the other side, they follow a circular nature. You receive from one hand and you pay from the other hand to the government or to whoever else you're dealing with. Taxes can be planned. They can be structured. They can be mitigated. They can be, there's always ways to legally reduce your taxes. Duties, on the other hand, there are very few recourses to reduce your duties. The only way I know of is to get a REX registration at your local DGFT office.
Sure. So another question from Shipra. She's saying that I have VAT registered in UK. So for selling in Germany and other countries, I need to have OSS. She's also planning to make Germany as a source for other European market.
Right, Shipra, I think we should definitely go ahead and set up Germany as your base, because for your product line, I'm aware of your product line. Germany is the best place to start with. Shipra, let's not register OSS right away, because we have that 10,000 window. And in fact, for all the other attendees in this meeting, let's use that 10,000 euro threshold. Once you think that you're now going to exceed 10,000 would be the time that you have to register for OSS. We would require at least 2 to 3 weeks to get your OSS in place. So you would also have to account that into your planning.
Fair enough, Sumit. So I think we have covered almost each and every question. We got one another question. Let's include this also. So Amazon is charging UK VAT on sponsored ad campaign. Can we claim input of VAT in our quarterly return and claim refund of excess VAT paid?
Very important question, Ali. Thanks for raising this up. This has been a major pain point for a lot of people. A lot of people were not aware of this in the past. A lot of people have benefited from following the right guideline. The reason why I can tell you your motivation behind asking this question is because you might have been scrutinized or audited by HMRC, and they disallowed the certain VAT input on these kind of invoices. The reason for that is, in case of goods, place of supply is decided where the goods are being delivered. Similarly, in case of services, place of supply rules make you taxable at the place where you're sitting, because that's where you're getting the service delivered. You're selling your goods in UK, but advertising campaign service is being delivered to you from Amazon in India and not in UK. Hence, as per Indian taxation laws and also as per UK taxation laws, that particular invoice raised by Amazon for ad campaigns should be charged on GST rather than on UK VAT. And you should be able to take input in India, provided Amazon mention their Indian GST number. I'm more than happy to discuss this in detail with you, Ali. I know, so in the past, we've had customers who come to us to claim refund on these kind of invoices, and there's a lot of variables involved in this process. I'd be happy to discuss with you after this session.
Sure. One last question, Sumit. So seller is saying that Amazon and eBay provide IOSS only for the EU, but not provide any IOSS number for the UK. So can you please explain what about the UK?
Right. So Vishal, from 1st of July, UK came out of, it's no longer a part of EU. Although it's a European country, but it's not part of the European Union for VAT purposes specifically. So IOSS anyways does not apply to UK. The logic, so in UK, you don't need, first of all, you don't need an IOR. All you need is a VAT number and a EORI number, which does not have to be a domestic EORI. It can be EORI registered on your Indian address. You will not require anything else to get your goods custom cleared, even if it's below than 135 or more than 135 GBP. So the IOSS OSS only applies to mainland Europe, to answer your question.
Fair enough, Sumit. So Sumit, just to summarize, you have already summarized this though, but how would you say, like, seller selling before these changes in UK, Europe, and now, how it is helpful as for a seller? If you can, discuss some points in a nutshell.
Right. So in a nutshell, from 1st of July, UK changed its regulation. The 22 GBP threshold, or rather the £15 threshold and the 22 euro threshold, has been done away with. To replace that, threshold of 135 GBP and 150 euros has been brought into place. No longer can we import goods claiming them as gifts or personal use items of insignificant value. The only threshold is 150 euros and 135 pounds. VOSS and IOSS will have to be followed in case you want your business to have no disruptions. The benefits over here are you don't have to maintain multiple VAT numbers. In case of IOSS, the benefit is duty can be, you don't have to pay duties if you have an IOSS number provided by your marketplace. Third major change is tax is now being withheld and paid by your marketplace to a major extent. You would only have to pay a very insignificant amount at the time of filing your VAT returns. Another change is that even if you are a merchant seller, Amazon is still going to deduct 20% VAT, and you're also paying VAT at the time of import of goods to the customs. You're paying VAT 2 times. You're probably paying in excess of 20-30%. The only way to get a refund is to file your VAT returns on time, file a claim, receive the money in your GBP or Euro bank account. In summary, I think this was a very brief summary of all the major changes. I'd be more than happy to connect with all of you after this session. Please feel free to reach out to Payoneer or to us directly, and we'd be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you so much for taking us through the changes. And I'm sure that we all get benefited out of this. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. After this session, we'll share the link where we'll kind of try to find out if you're interested to connect with Sumit on this further. Please submit your details and do give us feedback on the content and the topic that we have covered today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.